guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cassie Clark. Due to some technical limitations, we're going to try to do this a little bit differently. When I change the slides, it's going to zoom in so you can see what's on the slides, and then it's going to zoom back out again. I am an equine studies major, equibusiness if we want to be specific, and my anticipated graduation date is May of this year. So, just some background on why I chose Del Val and why I chose my major. When I was looking at colleges, I was having trouble finding something that I thought was a good fit. So I spoke to some friends who I had known from the barn that I'd been with, and a lot of them were recommending Del Val. So I went to take a look at the campus and see if I could find out more about the program, and I fell in love, and here I am. So the first job that I have listed was at Dover Saddlery. It's located in Branchburg, New Jersey, and it's a chain of stores that extends all up and down the East Coast, and we also have locations in Colorado and in Texas. I worked at Dover part-time from May of 2008 to January of 2014. My hours kind of varied. It could be anywhere from just a couple hours per week while I was still in school to almost full-time. I was responsible for in-store and over-the-phone customer service, which included show equipment and apparel fittings, such as your tall boots, your show jackets, helmets, safety vests. Also, I was responsible for recommending supplements and minor medical treatments, like if someone had rain rot or scratches, or if they had a minor cut that needed treating. Also, we sold saddles, which included fitting the saddles to the rider as well as the horse. Bridles, blankets, saddle pads, corrective things sometimes, and various training equipment, as well as general advice. You'd get a lot of people in who were maybe just starting out riding, who maybe didn't quite know what they were doing, or you'd get people who would come in and say, I'm having such and such problem with my horse, or such and such problem with my barn, can you recommend a solution? So some of the personal characteristics required, most definitely a positive attitude. I find that gets you really far in most situations in life as well as in the horse world. And excellent listening and communication skills. A lot of my job was listening to clients so that we could work together to find a solution that would fit their needs. And you had to be able, as a product advisor, as they called us, to do just that, to advise people of the products that they were buying that weren't always familiar with them. I had to be flexible to be able to fulfill the client's needs in a manner that was appropriate for them and that truly addressed their needs as well as their wants. Professionalism was key. You really never knew who was going to walk through the door, whether it be a background rider or whether it be the Grand Prix Olympian. We had clients that included Stephen Peters, Philip Dutton, Heather Mason, all those, all the big names, all very nice. Open-mindedness was key. Not everyone who walked through the door was necessarily going to be someone that you that shared your point of view or your experiences or anything like that. You had to be willing to work outside of the box. Efficiency was also key. You had to, do things in a timely manner. Problem solving and patience. Patience was definitely key. Ability to take initiative, self-motivation, the ability to think for myself, all very, very important. I didn't always have a manager hovering over me, so I had to have the confidence in myself to know that I could solve an issue if management wasn't readily available. Some of my strengths in this position were definitely a positive attitude, open-mindedness, willingness to work with whoever came through that door. Communication skills, the ability to really listen to the clients and talk with them. And through that skill, I wound up with a lot of more personal relationships with the clients, which was a really cool part of the job, because you had something in common with every person that walked through that door, and that was your love of horses. Some of my weaknesses, really more towards the beginning, were a lack of product knowledge. I started this job really only knowing how to ride. And then as I went, as I was employed there longer, I got to learn more, I got to use more, and I got a lot more confident. And that kind of fixed the initial lack of confidence that I had. So some of the things that I learned through this position were the use and the knowledge of the various products and apparel and supplements, just really knowing the differences between them and the uses of them and things like that. How to tailor the recommendations to fit the customer's wants and needs, which sometimes were two different things. And how to interact with all types of equestrians, because you had all types walk through the door. Contributions to my overall learning. I gained a lot of connections from this job, and I think that was really the most valuable thing, even more so than learning about the products and all that, because in this world I find that who you know can influence what happens a lot. The second opportunity that I have, which actually stemmed from the first, was at Last Farm, which is a small private farm located in Neshannock Station, New Jersey. I was responsible for the care, riding, conditioning, and showing of a warm blood cross, who is right there, that is D'Artagnan. And also I was responsible for the conditioning of an appendix quarter horse and a little Shetland pony. And a lot of my job was just basic barn management and barn work. It's a small facility. It's very cozy, very comfortable. There's the 3 horses there, and it is a multi-discipline facility. It's mostly dressage, but they can really do pretty much anything. The personal characteristics that this position required were patience, persistence, which were key for conditioning these horses, willingness and ability to adjust my riding style. Most of my training is in hunter-jumper and not in dressage, so that was actually also a weakness going in. I had to learn to adjust and be flexible. A commitment to fitness was key. D'Artagnan is very big, and it took a lot for me to be able to condition him the way that was appropriate for him. Confidence was a big one. I had to know that I could, in fact, had the knowledge and had, the strength, and actually really knew what I was doing. And also a strong work ethic, which I think kind of goes along with the confidence, just to keep going. Some of my strengths, physical fitness, I would say, work ethic, ability to connect with the horse, and also open-mindedness to be flexible in my discipline and in being willing to go more towards the dressage side of it. Weaknesses, physical strength, I think, was a big one. It took a lot to produce the desired results, which sometimes tested my physical strength. And as well as an initial lack of appropriate training in dressage. I really went into it with mostly hunter-jumper knowledge and not so much dressage knowledge, so that was a difficult point for me. Some of the things that I learned, some of the best opportunities come from the most unexpected places and from chance encounters. And to take advantage of all of the good opportunities that come to you. This opportunity came to me from a client that walked in at Dover, so that kind of stemmed from that. And the contribution to overall learning, this gave me the opportunity to really put a conditioning program to the test to see if I could develop something that would condition the horse from pretty much not being active all winter to being ready to show, which we did. And it was a really good feeling to figure out that I actually am capable of doing that I, possess the knowledge, and that was a huge confidence booster for me. The third job that I held, which was also actually a connection from Dover and from the barn that I was with for the first 19 years that I've been riding, is at Phoenix Rising Farm. It's located in Milford, New Jersey. It's mostly hunter-jumper, some western. They do have some cutting horses on the property, actually some cows too. They run a lesson program, some horse shows on and off the property, and also a summer camp for 4 weeks in the summer for kids up to age 13. I was employed here from April to September of 2014. And initially I worked part-time, usually 3 to 4 times a week for 3 to 4 hours at a time. And then eventually after about a month I went full-time, actually more than full-time. And I wound up pretty much working all the time, 13-hour days, 7 days a week. It was pretty life-consuming. Some of my duties and responsibilities were barn work, including doing stalls, feeding, turnout, riding lesson, teaching the riding lessons, which actually was my favorite part. I loved that. And supervising and managing summer camp. That was a little bit more trying because, you're dealing with 30 kids and they're all running around. So it's trying sometimes to have to control something like that. And I was also, this was also one of my favorite parts, I got to ride and help in the training of a lot of the young and sale horses, which would come and go as they would come and go. Some of the personal characteristics required. This was one of the more difficult positions that I held. Definitely patience, perseverance, and persistence, but also in this position, you need to be assertive because there are people in this world, unfortunately, that will take advantage of you. Also, definitely necessary is thick skin and a backbone. Some of my strengths in this position were patience, a positive attitude, definitely, flexibility as far as adapting to the needs of the students that I was teaching. Some of them learned by, you would point out another rider in the ring and say, watch what she's doing. Or you could, just adapting to the different styles of the kids that you were teaching. And then listening and communication skills also with these students and sometimes with their parents who didn't also necessarily understand what they were watching. And a work ethic. Some of my weaknesses were sometimes I had a little bit too much patience, I think, and also an initial lack of assertiveness. I was a little bit too passive sometimes. Some of the things that I learned are that I love teaching, especially kids and beginners. There is something about teaching a kid who is having a really hard time with a certain concept and then working with them and keep them working and working and working. And then that moment when they finally get it and you watch that light bulb go on is really, really rewarding. I also learned what not to put up with, which includes mistreatment of horses, mistreatment of boarders, and also mistreatment of workers. I learned how not to run a business. This was a classic example of someone who is in way over their head and refuses to admit it, and wound up with an overloaded property and just it was just not a good situation. And I also learned the hard knocks lesson of life and of the horse world is that there are unfortunately some not good people in here, and you need to learn how to spot them and protect yourself. And the contribution to overall learning, I felt as though this was the complete package as far as being able to apply everything that I had learned at school, and I found that I loved teaching. But after seeing the mistreatment of the horses and feeling as though I was being mistreated as an employee, I just didn't feel like this was something that I could be a part of anymore. So I learned how to recognize something like that. So my career goals going into the program were that I wanted to run a lesson program, that I wanted to run horse shows, maybe do a breeding program, and at this point I'm not entirely sure. I think that is largely that I can contribute that largely to my experience at Phoenix Rising. I just really don't know if I want to run something that big, so I'm kind of taking a step back right now and kind of reevaluating. The employment program, I feel as though that was a valuable tool for me. It really encouraged me to gain practical hands-on experience, and it opened the door to some opportunities that I wouldn't have considered otherwise. And it really forced me to take a look, really an in-depth look at each of these positions and see how they influenced my current goals and any possible future opportunities that I might have. Some of my short-term current career goals are find full-time employment, not necessarily in the horse world. If it is, great. I definitely want to keep riding and showing as a hobby and possibly find barn work on a smaller scale. I don't really want to work for a big barn right now. Some long-term goals would be to explore other possibilities, see if maybe another career is a good fit and have riding on the side. I definitely want to teach and possibly work for or run a lesson or show program down the line. And any questions, I would be very happy to answer. My email is right here, and you guys can forward those to me and I will get back to you. And thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.